Okay, so I think it's streaming. Let's see here. We'll check the inbox real quick. Yeah, I don't care. I try to care about this stuff here. See, I try to care about this stuff. Like, and go up this way a little bit. Yeah, you can read all that if you want. I don't care. Computers are going to ruin internet chess. It's just downright sad, really. And it's because of people like this that it's going to ruin internet chess, because of the fact that when people can't stand losing, the first thing that they go to is their fucking engine, rather than sit down and analyze with the person. It's so stupid. So, let's see. Where's my user menu? Profile. Let's see here. This was the first game. I ran computer analysis on it. I was trying to show him that you can play any opening, and as long as you follow certain principles, you can play anything. But I'm literally tired of listening to people say that people are computers and that they can't even learn chess. They just sit there and they play based on memorization and stupid beginner tactics. This is an old line that I used to play. It's called the Hyper Accelerated Dragon. I don't really remember a lot of the theory in it, but if we go a little bit more forward, he looks like he wants to play the main line. So like when I play knight here, then some of the typical main lines are like, and the engine's showing, but one of them is c4. This is a Marazzi bind setup, which is pretty interesting. Some of the people that play against it that don't want to play the Accelerated Dragon are scared of the Marazzi bind because they don't like feeling cramped. A lot of the theory behind it suggests that black is doing fine. So he decides he's going to back up the knight with c6. But the problem with that is, while the engines claim that it's about equal, which it's hard to bust this up, I mean, it's inferior to things like c4 and knight c3 because all you're doing is protecting the knight. And then if you go a little bit further here, the bishop e3 is fine. Bishop d3 is okay. The problem here is that he's developing just to develop. There's no plan, and a lot of the stuff, like if you can see me point here, the bishop here and the bishop here, it's clogging up the position a little bit, and there's no real development. If you look at it, there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. White at this point should be ahead in development, but he's not. He's actually slightly behind in development. It's almost as if we traded places and I'm white and he's black. So the computer's pointing out the move that I was considering at this time, but sometimes the principled stuff may get a little too into my head. So, I mean, there can't possibly be anything wrong with my move, which is castle. Knight to d2. So this is one of the natural problems with his c3 move order is, as long as I play things that are normal, I maintain my advantage, and he gets all clogged up in the center here. So like this knight move here and this bishop and this knight are all going along this file here, and he has to end up moving it in order to get any kind of compensation for the lack of development that he's got. And that's one of the reasons why d5 is played here, because I'm taking advantage of the fact that one of the strategic goals is for black to play d5, and white here is ignoring it. Turn that down, Bailey. Thank you. I'm recording here. All right, so d5. It's kind of funny when some asshole sitting here, spouting off you're a computer, when all the strategic theory that you can study, and I've been studying it for 10 years, could possibly match up with a goddamn computer. What is this? Is b takes c6 a computer move too? Might as well be, right? Because I'm a computer, right? E takes d5. This is technically theoretical. I mean, I told him that after c3 it was out of book, which is correct. But the problem is that it's not out of theory. I did say it's out of theory because he thinks that book is theory. Well, there's a lot more to openings than just rote memorization of book line. So this is part of the theory. This, if you see how I'm pointing here to like this pawn chain and this pawn here, this is all part of Sicilian theory. If black can obtain that pawn structure, he's got an advantage. And if you look at the computer analysis over here, it's agreeing that it's practically like white has traded places with black, and instead of being white, he's black. So a lot of the advantage that he's supposed to have as white has essentially disappeared. It's almost like he's blundered the whole opening. He thinks he blunders one move at a time, but he doesn't. He blunders all kinds of moves. I was willing to help this guy, but, frickin' hour just listening to him whine about this shit. And then at the very last straw, call me an engine because my moves were just too good and he was embarrassed. Well, god damn it. All right, so bishop to d4, this is okay. I did consider the e5 move. Let's see. I wonder what... Is it just initiative? It must be initiative. Yeah. Yeah, oh. Why is it offering a castle, though? Because if he castles, then queen to b6, doesn't it? Oh, because bishop d4. No. Yeah, queen to b6 should win, right? And then he's forced to play bishop to d4, or... See, the computer doesn't even say bishop to d4. It just says king h1. Yeah, and then you take the bishop, and then you check on f2. And then you have to take, and you win the exchange, yeah. So, I didn't calculate that. I wanted to play e5, I thought about it. I admit I was scared. I did consider it. I calculated a little bit. I forgot about the, here, let's see, bishop takes. I did see this, and I wasn't sure if it was good enough to play for this because of maybe the isolated pawn. Maybe if he didn't, because I did see this and I didn't think castle would be played. Because, you know, in any case, you know, there's there's queen to b6 check here, and even things like this would be bad because of this. You know, and then here, and then you win a piece. So, what I missed, though, is the fact that he would try to castle. Maybe the computer thinks that the position is just so bad that he has to castle to get out of the center. So, yeah, okay. That's... at least, based on the time frame that I had here, when he played bishop to d4, I knew that e5 was definitely a candidate move. And if I wasn't playing a 10-minute game, I would have considered it longer and maybe even actually calculated it. Let's see. So I threatened e5, which might have been, I don't know if it's, okay, anyway, the difference is less than half a pawn, so it's not even that bad. This thing here where you go inaccuracy, I mean, that's like half a pawn. Who cares about that inaccuracy? Rook e8. Let's see here. Did I play e5? I think I did. Yeah, bishop c5 would have been better. It's kind of thematic in these positions that black plays bishop c5. Did I play knight g4? Oh, I played queen c7. Okay, so it says that it's a mistake here, and I think because I can get the bishop pair, which I agree with, but on the grounds of the reason that I played queen to c7, I don't think it's that bad. This is how you use a computer. I mean, if you look at it, it still says 0.9, which means that if you give it a little bit of time, the engine might dwindle down a little bit and start realizing that it's not that great of a move over the other one. So queen to c7, you know, it attempts to try to connect the rooks. Knight g4 is relatively unprincipled. It's probably worth it to nab the bishop pair in this position, but I would gauge the moves roughly equal. So h3. The thing is that one of the ideas when you're looking at these is when your opponent starts reacting to the moves that you play, it means that in theory you have the initiative, so you have to continue to attack. And if you have the initiative, you're the one that's attacking, or at the very least, you're making your opponent think you're attacking. So if you keep attacking, then eventually he'll make a mistake and lose. So queen to c1. He thought that was a mistake. Maybe it was. Rook to b1, I guess. So a5 is simple. It's to try to eliminate my only isolated pawn. Maybe even to sacrifice it to break up the queen side. Imagine h4, h3, or a4 and a3 with b takes a3, and then bishop to e6, and rook to c8. That kind of thing is actually kind of common in these setups, because it really doesn't matter what the pawns you have as long as you're trying to accomplish certain weaknesses. And with the setup that he has, it's obvious that b2 and c3 are potential weaknesses. So a3 trying to create those weaknesses is part of the plan. So now he solidifies the potential weakness on b2 by playing a4, and I don't think he realizes that. It's one of the, I don't know. I would have actually sat here with him for an hour, talking with him about positional chess, but he'd rather call me a computer. Let's see here. So bishop b5 was a pretty decent move. I thought it was pretty good. So f4. This is when he started saying cheapos, which, yeah, I mean, we're getting down to the 2-minute mark each, and it's possible that either one of us could fall for cheapos, and maybe I did. Maybe I did kind of fall for a cheapo. I'm not sure. So knight f4, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight here. Yeah, see, I might have. Yeah, see, I did kind of fall for a cheapo. He could have played knight takes there, and then when queen takes, I think he could have played bishop. Oh no, he couldn't have. Yeah, no, he couldn't have played bishop f4. That's right, because I could have played knight e2. But the whole idea that I extended myself like with that knight g3 idea, I wasn't really impressed with. So bishop here, and I don't remember. This is probably the first game. So bishop to g7 is, I agree, is a mistake, and his move bishop f4 probably was the reason. All right, so the engine thinks that d4 is a mistake. Maybe it is, but we're running low on time, so I kind of wanted to clear lines. My piece activity was pretty decent, and then my time was much better than his. So in a way, maybe I was playing for the cheapo on this one, but I think it was a pretty decent higher class cheapo, so to speak, because it's really hard to determine what's wrong with d4 at a higher level, because yeah, the engine can calculate it in seconds, but it's really hard to calculate why when you're in a game where you're down to 2 minutes each. But the whole idea was to sacrifice it. I'm a little surprised that he took with the pawn. I thought he was going to take with like the knight or something. Knight e4? Knight e4. I considered knight e4, but I kind of wanted to wreck his king side.
Are you looking at my hair?
I didn't think that he would go into this where I could have a choice between both attacks, but I chose the bishop takes h3 just to wreck his king side. On the bright side, I did get the pawn back that I sacrificed. So on the tally here, I did manage to have my pawn back, and I'm threatening to win a second pawn.
Oh, I was just looking for that.
And the best move, which I agree with at the time, was from the computer, was bishop f4, right? And my plan was to try to maintain high activity, probably with what the computer says down here, which is bishop f4, queen c2 check with king h1 and rook d8, and just maintain high activity. But he went inactive, which is part of, principal chess, of course. So I think sometime during this game, like earlier, he was talking about how he didn't know what he was doing and stuff. And I was actually going to sit down and help him work it out. But he kept making excuses, which that in itself annoyed me.
Hunter,
Let's see.
can you get your clothes on?
I actually didn't consider rook
I
c2.
gotta go make macaroni salad.
I think I was just going for the material at this point.
Come on, I'll take
Yeah,
your clothes.
see, I was going for the material. This is probably one of my downsides. Of course, he blunders here. It's not an obvious blunder, like when you really think about it, but if you sit and look at the position more than like 30 seconds, you find out it is an obvious blunder. So,
What's wrong?
and then rook b3 just wins the rook. I thought about after here just to play rook to c2. It looks like the engine agrees. And then you just take the rook and you're winning and you're threatening mate in one.
Well, stand up.
Or no, it's not mate in one. It's not mate in one. But, the mate is close. So I just took and he resigned.
Get your flip-flops.
So,
Haley, come on, you got your flip-flops on?
that was the first
Can you
game.
put down that shirt, please?
This is the second game. This is the second game.
What?
I won't go down.
Okay, move.
Let's see. I was playing on my mobile. I don't play e4 very often. I play d4 most of the time, but I knew he played the French defense, and I wasn't really sure what variation that he plays.
Let's go. Are you put those on? Okay. Stop crying.
It's not my fault.
It is your fault.
But
No, it's not.
Yes. There's no cry.
the variation that he played is actually, I think, okay. It's probably one of the main lines, but D takes e4, and then knight f6. It kind of transposes into the main line of the French, I believe. We can ignore this here, that the inaccuracy of the best move was d4. All that is just another line. The engine may think that it's better, but when it comes down to it, it's just another line. And my analysis back when I used to play this is sturdy, and d4 isn't necessarily the best move. It's just another line. Knight g3 might be an inaccuracy, but I didn't want to go into lines where they play knight f6, and I think that transposes into main lines. So I wanted knight g3 to shake things up, and if you go by principal chess, then knight g3 is incorrect anyway.
Why are you crying? Seriously? What is wrong with you? What hurts? What
gonna have to stop this because my son's crying.
Shoot on.
And he's ruining the whole thing, so I guess I'll see you guys later.